rural electrification project, your return to multi-party democracy, your refurbishing of the Kolebu Mortuary, and your 4 doctorate degrees. I'll be lenient with you. I'll give you 5,000 years, 450 months, 100 weeks, and 50 days imprisonment with hard labor. However, you'll be allowed to contest in the 2004 election. So, Mr. Edison, you see that this court is full of probity, accountability, transparency, and integrity. Democracy at its base. Freedom of speech. I just Mr. Wilson for civic for CH for concern the gas of government.
Well, good morning to all you listening out there. And it is Saturday once again. My name is E. Azu, and when you hear my voice, that means it's time for Hot Topics, your most favorite political talk show in the tri-state of Cincinnati, Ohio. And today we are very fortunate to have wonderful people in our midst. They're going to be talking to us like we do all the time as politics galore. I have in the studio my best friend, again my most critic individual, Joe. He's going to be my co-host for this program. It is Hot Topics. As you know, the program is supposed to start at 11, but because we have these wonderful people showing up, we had to extend the time to 12. So at exactly 12, we're going to be diving straight into the questions and the discussions for today. If you're listening to me, my name is E. Azu, and I'm going to be here with wonderful people. I'm not going to mention their name right now. When I don't introduce them, you would hear straight. You can watch us on YouTube. All you got to do is just go on YouTube and type Afro Voice Radio on YouTube, and you should be able to hear us live. I mean, watch us is a video. And so what I want to let you know is that, go on YouTube, type Afro Voice Radio, and you would be watching us live in the studios here on Afro Voice Radio. We are one of the best radio stations, online radio station in the tri-state of Cincinnati. We are the only African radio station here in Cincinnati. You can't find anyone streaming best like we do here in the they call it the West Coast. Is it the West Coast, right, Joe?
East Coast.
Is the East Coast?
Yeah.
Are you sure? Midwest. Oh, sorry. Midwest. It's Midwest. Midwest. Oh my Joe. So we'll be right back. Stay tuned. We're not going anywhere. Right back.
Church, Mr. IMF, Miss World Bank, Mr. Asban, Mrs. Y, Mr. Europe, Mr. USA, Mr. Foreigner, Mr. Abacha, Mobutu Sese Seko, Columbus, Mr. ECG, Miss GWC, Mr. Politician, Mr. GNPC. But because of time constraint, we shall deal with ovoloplastic unputernable as commentors hospitals of NDC and mammographic sobriety of echronicity NPP.
Now, Mr. RDC, I didn't know that you love democracy that much. Why didn't you use the procedure of democracy to get into power?
Your Honor, 01 personality runs through AFRC, PNDC, and NDC. AFRC, PNDC, and NDC are not the same.
Shut up and let me finish. Don't you know that the decorated donkey is still an ass? You have been charged for shutting the mouth of the people for almost a decade. You are also accused of overstretching state funds. You are also charged for murder. Yes, murder. What happened to the generals? And what about the judges? What are you keeping money under your bed for when you were preaching savings? You said you were recovering the economy, but we didn't see your diagnosis. The people didn't know the treatment. The patient, the economy grew solely that until NPP declared it dead. We didn't know the economy was dead. That is also murder. I sentenced you to another 1,000 years imprisonment on the first count. Mr. NDC, you introduced one educational system and you and your children were experiencing another educational system.
Your Honor, the educational reform program was declared. It was to equip students with employable skills.
Shut up! So that they do the dirty part of development Whilst you and your children, you govern by doing the white collar part of development. I will invite your friends who were taking care of your children's school fees abroad to testify before the court. You are also charged with deceit of the electorate. You press polls for electrification just before elections, giving the people fake hope of being electrified immediately. And also moving commune machinery and garri processing factories from plus to plus in the name of 25th plus 6th December, driving majority who were not educated to vote for you, only to vote the next time in darkness. You are also accused of turning the public office into boxing ring, slapping people, violating human rights everywhere. You remember you overturned.
Yep. Good morning. Let me say good afternoon. And this is Afro Voice Radio, and my name is E. Azu. I'm going to be here with wonderful personalities this morning to discuss a few things that has happened in Ghana and across the world. And just like you know, my co-pilot is Joe Ose Owusu. Is in the studio with us, and we have a wonderful gentleman and the madam. If you don't mind, you want to introduce yourself to our listeners, we'll be happy. So please, I start from my right. Yeah.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Dr. Tina Brifajan. I'm currently the first vice chair of NPP USA, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome. Doc.
Hi, my name is Charles Dankosani, and I'm the vice president of the Baltimore chapter of NPP USA and a NEC member. And I'm glad to be here too.
Glad to be here. Glad to have you too, Doc.
My name is Boniface Nyati.
Yeah, go ahead.
My name is Boniface Nyati. I'm from Zambia. I'm visiting US. I'm glad to be here.
Well, it doesn't get to us. For you know, I'm not going to say John, can they see your height? If you can run the video, this is why John. He's a wonderful friend. We debate from different political angles, but I can assure you that he's a wonderful man, and he's my co-pilot for this program. So we're going to go straight and dive straight to our programs. The way we do it usually we'll pick something from America, then solve the net a little bit for Africa, then we'll jump to Ghana, where fortunately most of my guests here are from Ghana. So we have few issues coming up. For example, we have the Anas Ameriyao Anas video. We have the unmasked king of Anas, a crusade that Kennedy Japan had promised to unmask this general. I want to see if this is the right course to go. Also going to talk about, the communication deal, if possible, and we'll talk about NPP USA in general, before and after their Congress, things that has happened, and want to find out from the Rep CAF there is peace now, and this oneness, and how NPP USA is focused to first and foremost unite not only MPP members, but at least Ghanaians as a whole, in this diaspora, and how they are intending to go back home and serve. And if it's possible, I will talk about RUPA if it's possible. This is Afro Voice Radio. Once again, my name is E. Azu, and it's Hot Topics. Dr. Ofori, after Allah, you already checking on us if we have started. Yes, we have. And I want you to be ready, because today is going to be you one day on the show. So be ready for us. If you're watching Benjamin also in Cincinnati, big up to you. To my friends all the way in UK, Skobala Kofi. I know you're watching, and you're on YouTube, but I've put you right now, so you're watching the video. This is me, and me in the studio. Anyway, we're going to jump. Welcome welcome, Madam and Mr. Doctor and Doctor, actually. How is Baltimore?
Baltimore is doing fine.
Okay. I didn't even ask where you were coming from. I mean, which state?
With the Washington D.C. chapter.
Yeah, relocated to Cincinnati, right?
We have an MLS team now in Cincinnati.
Oh, we do. Yes, we do. And
so when you come, you can go to the stadium.
Yes.
Cincinnati is our second home, so yes, for close to here.
Don't forget to take a picture because the same seat you guys were sitting in years back, Jacob Bichabilante was sitting right there. St. John was sitting right there. And we have Dr. was one doctor, I forgot his name. But yeah, they visited here and we had an interview with them. So our students have always been very friendly. And how is the party after the election?
About MPP USA, all of us got with regards to the election, the MPP USA elections, as I discussed earlier then. It went smoothly. We had a lot of contestants. It was, all the 4 positions were hotly contested, and we thank God for victory. Before I even go into that, let me do some few acknowledgements here. We thank God for bringing us here to Cincinnati once again. Cincinnati was very supportive, and I would like to use this opportunity to thank the chairperson of Cincinnati, in the person of Mr. James Owusu, and his wife, Mrs. Linda Owusu, and all the members of Cincinnati chapter. I would also like to, as the first vice chairperson of MPP USA, I would like to thank all MPP USA members and their support in the just ended election. The first vice chair position, 4 winners. There were some challenges here and there, but we're able to land smoothly and safely. And we currently have the 4 members, or the 4 elected officials, and we have also constituted the entire NEC membership. So we are moving along smoothly. We are working on revamping the MPP USA, and we are working on making it more formidable than before, so that we can help MPP Ghana to implement the ROPA accordingly in a way that will help the MPP USA and the Ghana Party, so that we can have several or subsequent electoral victories. So for that, for the ROPA, fortunately we have the the deputy ROPA director here. I'll let him speak more on that. But before I let him speak, we all know that the ROPA is to be implemented in the 2020 elections, but we are currently waiting on the electoral commissioner or the electoral commission in Ghana to put the appropriate apparatus in place, working with the embassies all over the world to implement the ROPA in such a way that there will be, we can amass votes. The goal of MPP USA, the goal of MPP diaspora branches is to amass more votes, collect more votes for Ghana, so that we can stay in power, if possible, forever.
The word for politicians, if possible, forever. Dr. Sabin, I have already commended MPP for the way they have been very vibrant when it comes to politics in the diaspora. And I've asked other parties back in Ghana to emulate that. Now, I know Dr. Tina was just saying about the ROPA. Is this vibrancy, let me use the word, as a result of the ROPA, or you generally think that as diasporans we need to want and be involved in our local politics? What can you say about it? Is this all tailored towards the ROPA that you as diaspora have to care about our country, and this is part of our heart?
In our heart. Ghanaians have Ghana in our heart. And so if we are here, being part of the process is going to help build our nation. One thing we should forget is that we contribute massively towards the development of Ghana as diasporans. We are in the process, but also with our knowledge, with technical know-how, our education, and things that we've learned from this country. And so I say that as we have key interest in Ghana, because we are Ghanaians, and so yes, we are to be part of the Ghanaian system, and also to be part in participating in the process, which is ROPA.
Okay.
Very easy.
Okay.
Because it will be easy, but I think we are prepared to engage massively in how the EC implements it or give us the go-ahead to do that.
Okay. And I know me and Jonas are arguing on ROPA extensively, and Mr. Nyati, if you are not very much in the known, I think that the ROPA is just a matter of the Ghanaian Electoral Commission extending actually voting rights to its citizens abroad.
Okay.
Yeah, in the diaspora. So that's what we're doing. I'm not sure if Zambia has something like that today.
There was something like they want to incorporate that. It's already like a draft constitution. It's a part of the
Can you please get closer to the microphone?
Yeah. It's a deal, I think. They want to implement that. How far they have gone, I'm not quite sure, but it's something that they want to do.
I have had the chance, like I said, arguing with Joe on the fact that I feel that as a country we don't have enough resource for that now. I think that we will be in a position, maybe some few years coming, but we have so many challenges that I think that we could focus our attention a little bit to it than to try and implement ROPA, knowing very well the challenges that we've had as a country. Even internally, there's always been a debate, court cases, and how generally, or let me say, how sincere collecting more votes are. How much more, and Joe, if you want to educate me, what do you think the government is going to make sure that they're not in fraud in collecting votes in America, for example, because we're here? How is that machine going to work? And how will it be safe for Ghanaians? When someone disputes a figure that is coming from America, do you think that Ghana is in a position to withstand any challenge from external forces?
Well, of course, you have a legitimate concerns, but then our ability or our participation in voting is a right, which is enshrined in the Constitution, and the fact that we have moved from Ghana to say a destination A or B does not disenfranchise us from voting, and so we must look at it from that. It's a right that we are entitled to. Procedure to ensure that everything is full and fair. I would say but processes are in place to ensure that we have all the structures in place. And for instance, I have over the years argued that we need a clearly defined identification system. We also can identify the Ghana, the whole shape is everything. And check where to court. The petitioners requested by NC to submit the list of Ghanaian voters for the last year. The total is 255,000, but the answer is able to produce only 742. 742. Even after 742, there were rows of petitions in the list, and some of them don't even to the time or plan to actually identify the economy for the SIC. So, until we're able to find someone saying how to identify who is a Ghanaian, whether it's America, or whether it's whatever else, identify we can get closer to the vote or where they want to vote. Whether it's online or whether it's to somewhere Washington DC or whether it's they're correct, just like we're doing in Ghana. Once we don't have those structures yet, I don't think that we want to jump the level or employment. Progress, we want to be attentive to the rights, especially when contribute they should be able efforts to ensure that they engage in the diasporas actively participating in community and the making of the political process.
To continue with Abifana Jane, so very interesting class here. So we have to go step by step. If I can understand again, quite if I know, he has defined the fact that as we start out, the Belgian is in a position to fully open up Europa. That passing the law itself was good, but it has to go through processes very certain. For example, I mentioned collection centers. We have to identify what now is the phenomenon or is this created. Now, identification to identify what's a Ghanaian. You don't can have everyone and say, that's not how to speak the language. That's it. So, do you think about the other aspect here?
Well, thank you for the opportunity. So, I agree with both. Significant changes in the results of elections in Ghana. About 235 of them are living in America alone. And not, as Joe said, not allowing these people to vote can be disastrous. And these people contribute through remittances to the Ghanaian economy. There have been several figures quoted like $2.5 billion a year from the diaspora. Some sources have quoted $7 billion and so on. But I believe we can all agree that the contribution from the diaspora, not just in monetary value, but like Dr. Sabin espoused earlier, our knowledge base, in-kind and in-cash contributions are enormous, and we need to give the opportunity to these people to also exercise their franchise as citizens of Ghana. So, in terms of implementing WOPA, I've learned recently that even the U.S. Census, that is to be done, they are considering asking questions about ethnicity and national origin to help the various countries to, collate the numbers of people living in the U.S. I don't know what other countries like Germany, Nigeria, etc. are doing, but for the WOPA implementation in the U.S. here, for Ghana, we can use that data from the U.S. Census. If it is done the way that I've learned is about to be done or is going to be done, we can use that to support the data that we collect. We definitely need to have a way of identifying who is a Ghanaian, who is a dual citizen, who is not a Ghanaian. And I believe the embassies abroad, the Ghanaian embassies abroad are ready to do that and are capable of doing that with the support of the Electoral Commission and the government in Ghana. So yes, we have to do it step by step. We first have to identify who is a Ghanaian. I believe a lot of Ghanaians living abroad have Ghanaian passports. Some have dual citizenship cards, etc., etc. They have birth certificates and, you know, all kinds of identification materials that they can use to apply for voter registration card through the embassies. And then once we do that identification, we can register them to vote. And for MPP USA, we are poised and ready to assist with this process. That is even part of the reason why we've created a position for ROPA Director and ROPA Deputy Director to assist with this process. We are very much interested in the development of Ghana, and we are ready to assist with the process.
Thanks so much. And since we have the ROPA Vice, I think that now it's going to be directed on you a lot. And we appreciate the effort that you and your chairperson sought to do. But let me digress a little bit or deviate a little bit. In Ghana, as we speak today, it is not even known who is a Ghanaian. I keep saying this thing. For a nation to develop, you must know your people. Because your budget must be based on real facts. You cannot just make up budget by assuming that you have a number of people like that. But you must back it with facts. We don't have any document. It used to be the passport. Then the passport was what? Compromised. Then it used to be the national voting ID card. Then that was compromised. Today we are speaking about another card that is going to be issued, and I was told even that one, we don't know how it's going because there's money somewhere, 1.2 or 22 billion or whatever it is. Let me ask you, it's our interest to do the right thing, or our interest is to get ROPA just flowing?
Okay, it's our interest to do the right thing. Thank you. There's also our interest to do ROPA. So, but before I do that, let me just make a little discussion about the national ID card. And thanks to our president who is implementing that. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so it's not 1.2 billion.
Okay.
Okay. The first year, I believe, is $283 million.
Yes.
So let's clear that up. So the ID card.
Yeah, go ahead.
The ID card
I'm trying to work
for the first year is $293 million.
Yeah.
So it's not 1.2 billion for the first year. So let's clear that out. So now let's talk about.
So what numbers did you give again? You said 293 million.
Yes.
Okay. For the first one.
For the to get everybody to have a card, ID card.
Okay.
And everything, the logistics and everything. The 1.2 was projected within 15 years.
Okay.
So it's two different.
So let's assume we're even having a figure of 290, which is close to 1 billion, but 293. So let's work with the 293.
Yes. Okay. So if we are able to have it or implement it successfully, that is a great step towards, identifying true Ghanaians. Okay, now let's talk about ROPA here. When did ROPA start? In 1992. It's time, and I think we are ready to implement ROPA. Since 1992, if we are not ready, when are we going to be ready? That is the question we need to ask ourselves. Is it going to be easy? No, but we can do that. We can do it because we have good policies, we have good leaders right now who is ready to do that. Let me say one thing about in U.S. Our ambassador has been going around asking all Ghanaians to register with the embassy. That is first step. Every Ghanaians have either a Ghanaian passport, a dual citizenship, or they have in their passport, a U.S. passport, as born in Ghana.
No, before you mean, so you say every Ghanaian. So I consider myself a Ghanaian, but I'm a U.S. citizen. I'm not a dual citizen. Where do I fall?
Do
I have to register with the embassy?
You need to register with the embassy. Everybody have to register as a Ghanaian. And if you look at your U.S. passport, place of birth, what does it say? Ghana. It's in there. So that identity can even help to get even voter registration. So there are so many ways we can do. We just have to put an effort and get it done. If you sit down and say we are not ready, we can never ever be ready since 1992.
Yeah, but some of us are of the view that in his special case, for instance, he is a Ghanaian, or he was a Ghanaian. He's now an American. Okay. When we implement ROPA now, he can easily go and register and vote. Is it legal? Okay, and then secondly, we are also talking about America. We are talking about ROPA, and so you have Nigeria, you have Saudi Arabia, you have Thailand, you have all of these other countries. Is ROPA going to be limited to Western countries, or is all going to be African countries? It's going to be all worldwide. Do we have the infrastructure to run such a program now? And how do we go to, say, Ivory Coast and identify Ghanaians to register? And so that is why, for me, the first thing we need to do is to identify who is a Ghanaian. Let's be bold and face that question. Who is a Ghanaian? Is he a Ghanaian or he's not? I mean, when I use he, I'm using people of his category, and there are so many of them. If they are, how do we register them? Okay, we register them, and we know that we have 35 million Ghanaians. We can work with that figure and then proceed. We are now in 2018, and we are going for election 2020. Do we think we can go through all this difficult path and then have a successful election? Don't forget that we are Africans, and we have history of how elections have led to wars across different countries. And so I am of the view that if we really, really want to implement ROPA, the first question we need to answer is, who is a Ghanaian, 18 years and above, registered, and then we can say, okay, now let's do the other talks.
So this is, thank you, Joe. You have brought up a good issue. So this is the question. Who is a Ghanaian? All these will come from the EC as to what the steps are. But in terms of if we are ready, my question to you and to all the audiences, if we haven't been ready since 1992, when are we going to be ready?
Yeah, but is it not a call on us that if we really want to be there, like you claim, then it's important to do what it's supposed to do? For example, why don't we invest our time rather to identify a Ghanaian? At least if you can tell me that you are a Ghanaian, the fact that you are speaking a Twi, to me, I don't believe that you are a Ghanaian. The fact that I'm speaking with you, I don't believe. My passport, like I have told you, has been compromised. I could be a Nigerian or a Zambian and just gone for a Ghanaian passport and listed in my name as a Ghanaian because, of course, that is where I claim it is. So I am saying that if we are concerned that we are still marking time, our effort shouldn't be rather channeled to a situation where we are getting the basics right, then we move.
And that is what we are doing now.
Okay.
The embassy has been going around, asking Ghanaians, please register with the Ghanaian embassy. That is a first step. That is the way to identifying who are Ghanaians.
You don't think that, let me come back again. You don't think that since the majority of the existent ID is already compromised, it will be right that at least tell me to go to Ghana and do the right thing, register from Ghana, so that I can be able to prove beyond my passport that I have written in it that I'm a Ghanaian. I should be able to prove beyond that. And then you give me an ID card, for example, the national ID card we're talking about here.
Which is a way,
so instead of asking people, instead of asking people to just go to the embassy and register, if my passport was compromised from the beginning,
It's
you have
to-
already added to it, because then it hasn't cured anything. But if I go to Ghana, there are certain things that I can prove.
So whatever you can prove in Ghana, you are going to prove it here when you go to the embassy. When you go to the embassy to register, you are not just going and show nothing or show just one ID.
What are the other things that we can prove the embassy requires?
Okay, I believe that, there's a lot of things that the embassy have. I don't have everything with me right now, but there are some things. The reason why we have the embassy is to represent us or to represent Ghana here. So whatever that when you go to Ghana you'll be required to get, you will get those when you go to the embassy. They are going to tell you these are the things you need to do. These are the things you need to get so that you can be registered as a true Ghanaian. It's not that you just go and walk into the embassy and just say, I'm a Ghanaian, and they will register. There are some requirements and criteria, just like it's in Ghana. So for you to travel to Ghana, it's not, cost effective. You can do the same thing over here and get the same results.
Let Dr. speak and maybe Papa will speak.
Let's not forget that this issue that we are debating here is an issue in Ghana as well. The credibility of the Ghanaian nationality, or finding out who is a true Ghanaian, is still a problem in Ghana, or even in all other countries, including the Western world. People all over the world can compromise their places of birth, citizenship, etc. It's not much of a problem in the Western countries because of biometric registration. Ghana just recently introduced biometric registration. So we are expecting that over the period of about 40 years, we will be able to identify who is truly a Ghanaian. Once you are born in Ghana, they take your biometrics, you get a birth certificate, and you cannot change it. I believe other African countries are doing same. So it's a problem that is a global problem in Ghana. It's not just for us here living abroad. Also, let's be reminded that the National Identification Authority is also putting structures in place to register or give national IDs to Ghanaians living abroad. Asking Ghanaians abroad or citizens abroad to go back to their country to register will be like the days of Jesus Christ when people, Mary and Joseph had to go to, is it Bethlehem, to register and, all those things. It can also be compromised. So I believe that the NIH has intentions or has proposed to register Ghanaians abroad and give them the national identification card as well. For that, we don't know how much it will cost, how it will interfere with the EC's work. But let's also remind ourselves, lastly, that MPP USA, or MPP as a party, is only playing a supportive role. The crusade of, registering people and identifying true Ghanaians lies in the hands, or is championed by the government. We are not government officials. We are party members. We are branch members who are trying to support or have the intentions of supporting the government to achieve its goals. So we'll do everything that it takes. That's why, for example, that's why we are here today talking about this issue. We are very keen, we are very interested in helping the government to achieve its goal and helping build a better Ghana agenda.
Absolutely. Helping build a better Ghana agenda. I think that is the mantra of
one thing for sure. You can never vote.
That's true. That's true.
But why should that be? Why should it be like that?
Yeah, because he's not a Ghanaian anymore.
I think he can. I think if he registers with the Ghana embassy and gets his
dual citizenship.
Right, dual citizenship or the NIA card. Something that identifies you as a Ghanaian, you can vote.
Okay.
So you need a dual citizenship, I believe, because, if you became American and you give away your Ghanaian citizenship, then you can request it back as a dual citizen.
Oh, okay.
That is it.
Okay.
That's the key.
I'll talk to you more, Dr. Sabin, after this program. Give me the guidelines. But thank you so much, guys. I think we've spent enough on the ROPA and MPP USA. So I wanted us to take a little bit of Donald Trump, his issues. We cannot stop talking about them. There's already a trade war, Joe, and I am not sure what Donald Trump's strategy is all about. He's already announced to put some tariffs on people like Canada and Mexico, people he share border with. What Joe? What is Donald Trump's strategy here? Because the Canadian president, prime minister, actually has pledged to retaliate if what Donald Trump is trying to do it happens. Do you think we are closer to trade war than ever before?
Yeah, I can say yes, because all the characteristics of trade war are in place now.
Mm-hmm.
One country will wake up one day and impose a tariff, the other country to respond, and then another country to respond, and then it starts spreading. So we all know, and we all know Trump campaigned on a slogan of making America great again. And so from Trump's political perspective, China, which supplies almost 70% of aluminum and steel to America, is taking a lot of American jobs. And so Trump wants to impose 10 to 25% of tax on steel and aluminum, so that most of American great steel companies will not outsource. And Trump did not only target China, but he also extended it to Mexico and Canada. For that matter, Canada also just this week decided that starting from 1st of July, they are also imposing a counter tariffs of 10 to 25% on American imports. So, and China has also threatened already. They have also threatened to put a ban on American export of pork and meat to China, and that which constitute major voting subcategory for Trump, because Trump actually won within the rural areas who are more farmers, and so hitting them with that counter tariffs will affect his base. But I think that the White House they have done the analysis, and they think that their policy of making America great can only be achieved by going that route. By the ramification of other countries paying them back is what is escalating, and European Union is threatening to join soon. So if you have the whole European Union bloc, you have Canada, who is the major trading partner and the closest United States ally, imposing tariffs by 1st of June, and then you have China doing same. I think that is going to affect the American economy. Already stocks are coming down in terms of steel, and I think that the White House needs to reconsider some of, especially when the White House or American political philosophy is capitalism, which is more or less anchored on free market economy, which is determined by supply and demands of goods and services, and which sets basic price for customer profit to be maximized. And so putting tariffs which more or less impose a restriction and cause dissatisfaction to customers is not the best. And so that policy from White House, led by Trump administration, is counterproductive to the principles of free market economy. But you know Trump, nothing will stop him. And I think that the only way you can get him to back down on his tax is for other countries to join. And now it's emerging. Canada is joining. European Union have threatened Japan will join soon. and when the heat starts hitting him, I think that he might reconsider. I mean, we it's starting from the 1st of July, and so we have some few days to the actual date to commence. And I think that something is going to happen at the Capitol Hill for
Mr. Nyati, quickly, Mr. Nyati, we know the consequences of trade war and how it trickles down and actually offsets every economy. We know that in 2002, President George Bush, he tried something like that, and it didn't go well, so he backed out. Looking at Trump's posture and who the man himself is, and his, I don't want to use strong words here, but looking at him, do you think that he's going to back down on this war that he's already trying to?
You see what worries me about.
And to add to it, this war we're talking about, the Africans are not even considered.
Right.
I mean, they are,
right.
We're not even talking.
You know, what is worrying about this is that this thing is it's obvious, it's straightforward. Like he has said, people know the implications of doing this and that, and then there are experts who have examined and know what will happen. But the whole administration is like silent about it and moving forward. So to me, I tend to think like they are baiting people into something, like, you know.
The baiting people to concession or what?
I mean, like right now, the reaction is like Canada is going to now do that as a consequence of U.S. having done what it did. And maybe European Union and other places will do the same. To me, it's like a plan which was made, and people are just falling into that plan.
In fact, you said Africa is not part, but just last week, U.S. is imposing taxes on importation of agricultural products from Southern Africa, Kenya, Tanzania, and they have also threatened to impose similar taxes on American goods coming there. In fact, Kenya eventually backed down, and so Kenya has accepted. But you have the likes of, I think, Uganda, and Rwanda rather, they have threatened never to succumb to. And so there's some kind of resemblance of tax also in Africa. It's just that they are not talking about it, but America has threatened to impose taxes on.
Dr. Sabin, how do we get ourselves out of this?
Okay, so I think, let me say, at the beginning, you ask if what is his strategy. I would say he's strategyless. One thing
you think Trump is just doing this because he want to do it? There's no strategy to this?
I don't see any viable strategy.
Economic advisors who have come out to support these trade tariffs.
Okay, let me ask you a question. If listen, anybody who disagree with Trump, what happens to the person, whether a minister or what happens?
I mean, he actually
get rid of them, or say worse to them that they will resign.
You think that these people might have been doing this job because they want to keep their job? They're siding with Trump, that they don't believe in it.
If I don't want to, I really don't want to say 100% true, but I would say 98.5%
true. I
true.
just quoted that even in 2002, President George W. Bush went through the same line. He imposed tariffs, charges, on countries.
And what happened?
It backfired.
That is the
came
question.
out. So the point I'm trying to make here is that it could not have been. Donald Trump has no idea. It's likely that the Republican Party, that has been their agenda, and it's only being echoed by Trump now, because Bush did the same. So to tell me that Donald Trump is clueless, that could not be factual. Is that not true?
I would disagree with you.
Okay.
He's clueless in some part. He's strategyless. We should remember that, United States is a microcosm of the global world.
Okay.
That means that, we are not just one standing nation that nobody else is around us, or we cannot trade with other people. We trade with the global world. We do business with other countries. So, do we have issues with our trade? Yes, there are some changes that I believe needs to be made, but we do not make this straightforward, changes right away or tariffs without talking or coming to the table with our other countries or our counterparts to discuss a fair trade deal. I think that we need a fair trade deal. In some instances, we are, we are at a disadvantage, but there is a way to go by that. You can't just get up one day and impose all these tariffs and expect there wouldn't be, a repercussion. No. And if we are not careful and all these other nations, imposes the taxes, we are going back to 2008 era?
Mm-hmm.
It is going to happen if we do not. Yeah. And talking about Republicans will not do anything. Republicans are not doing anything. And honestly, look at that. Republicans are scared of Donald Trump. We all know that. And so it needs to take, a bold, old Republican Party. People like the old Republican Party who can stand up and say, hey, this is not the right thing. I'll give you a typical, a bold person. It's our Attorney General, who said, no, I'm recusing myself. And he stuck by that. That is what it needs to, the Republican Party needs to do. I work in D.C., so I hear what goes on. So, yes, he is strategyless. And yes, Republican Party need to stand up, and tell him that, listen, you are causing a chaos in here in the future. Without that, we are in for a big fight.
Dr. Tina, you think, you really think Donald Trump is clueless? Or you think he's just doing the job of the Republican Party?
Well, I'll give a political answer here.
It's political.
It's I acknowledge that Dr. Sabin is opinionated about this, and I'll not take that away from him. But I would like to shift gears a bit and ask ourselves, how is this impacting African countries? And what are African presidents and countries doing to become self-sufficient? We always talk about Africa having gold, bauxite, oil, etc., and we always poor. What are we doing for ourselves? Let's put Donald Trump aside. What are we doing ourselves to improve our conditions? We're hearing about all kinds of corrupt deals going on in Ghana, and I believe we're going to move to that point.
Absolutely.
In our discussion. If we step up the game and improve ourselves, we wouldn't even have to bother about how President A is going to treat us, etc., etc. Because at the end of the day, we always take a second, position, or second-hand position
so you,
at the discussion
you
table.
Personally would agree with that vulgar language that Donald Trump gave to us as Africans.
I will not use that language for us, but I don't think that we've done ourselves good enough to come out of the shadows. We have what it takes to do that, but we haven't been able to do that. That doesn't give him the right to give us that name or label us as such, because it takes time. It's a building block. America did not develop in one day. And there are certain conditionalities that are placed on African countries, which is putting us down, which is, creating this issue of vicious poverty cycle. And so we can't just call ourselves, or we can't just accept that we are not capable, or the label that he gave us. But if we are going to look into these issues in detail, we also have to look at the external influences that keep us poor. But I go back to the point of what we need to do ourselves. For example, as an individual, if you are born poor, you can complain all you want how your mother didn't help you, how your uncle did not help you, how the school system did not help you, etc., and remain there. Yes, those conditions exist, but as an individual, what do you do to help yourself get out of that poverty? There are ways out, and we need to shift gears from complaining to doing the right things. Corruption is eating up our society, and yet we hear in the news all the time evidences of our own government officials taking up contracts, engaging in schemes, doing all kinds of things to siphon or, take what belongs to the country, keeping it in the hands of the elite few or the people who have access to these resources. What are we doing as a nation? What are we doing as a government in power? Or what are we doing as political parties or even individuals to change this cycle, to reverse this cycle and make Africa great? Because we used to be great and now we are not great.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
We become a dumping ground.
Just to, she raised a very critical point. In my earlier submission, I said Southern African country, rather it's Eastern African country, Kenya and Tanzania rather. They are fighting with America right now. We are talking about tariffs on aluminium and steel. Rather, Africa is quiet. Meanwhile, that is where the resources is actually coming from.
Mm-hmm.
But they are not even actively engaged in the whole. Why? Because they are just producing the raw materials,
Absolutely.
giving them to China.
Mm-hmm.
China is then bringing them to America, and then America wants to impose taxes on. Eventually, the effect is that they would use the steel to make cars, computers, chips, whatever. And then it becomes so expensive when it gets to Africa. So the effect on Africa is so enormous that our politicians must be able to engage now. And rather, a typical African politicians will just stay quiet until they are hard hit and then they start fighting. But I also think that he raised a very critical point. Maybe Trump wants to set a stage for renegotiation of tariffs, because maybe Trump thinks that China is taking advantage of the U.S. market, and so imposing 25%, and then all of these countries joining will then bring all of us on the table again to renegotiate tariffs, and then he might have achieved his aim, and that is what Trump usually do.
Okay, I know my guests here, they are on the timeline here. They want to leave at 1, but I'm going to beg them to give me 30 more minutes. So 1:30, Dr. Tina, what do you think? We can do it, right? Okay, good. I think we cannot go without discussing Anas issue, and that is going to take us some time. But I like the last point that the doctor said, and that point is, which I have always said, that there is a calculated, vicious cycle that is imposed on Africans to continue to be in that impoverished, position. We got to be we coming out to challenge the world is a threat to the world, to the rest of the world, and they can only do much. It is in their interest to make sure that we are where we are. And if we figure out this, we must begin to come out of it. And I think that is the point that she's making, that we must figure out that somebody is continually pressing us down for their interest. And for us to come up, we must do beyond what we are already doing. And I think on that note, that is a very key. We'll stop. We'll end the discussion on this Trump issue and we'll dive straight to Ghana. Before we go, I know, Doc, you have been asking me, when is the phone line going to open? The phone line is open, Doc. So you can call me or you can call the studio. It's 937-660-4646. 937-660-4646. Call the studio. Let's have a conversation. We've already talked about the trade war. We've talked about the ROPA. And now we're jumping to Ghana. There's a huge issue in Ghana. We call it the number 12.
Anas effect.
The Anas effect. This gentleman has, to some of us, proven beyond anything we can ever think of. The investigation or the undercover journalism that he does. When he started, some of us thought that he wasn't going to last. Then he went. To me, the one that was the surprising one was it the Heart of the Nation, where the judges were caught and the lawyers were caught. We have known in time memorial that as people, we are corrupt. In fact, corrupt is in our DNA. And one of my discussion has always based on the fact that I'm not holding the politician accountable. That has always been my point with Joe. I say, and I use this for example, I say we, the people, we are corrupted. If they put me in that position, I may end up doing the same thing because I am already corrupted. We must fight the corruption from the bottom down to the up. And what we've been doing as Africans or Ghanaians is that we're trying to fight the corruption. We are producing what we have already sold. The people we put them in offices, they started like Doc and Doc are going around. We know them. We've lived with them. We have tested their character. We have tried them. And somehow when we put them in position, we all of a sudden expect them to change within a day. It's not going to happen. So my position has always been, if we want to find ourselves in a position where we can be proud on the leadership that we are producing, then we must begin to do the change from here now. And this is where Anna's work is very key to me. That he is exposing people that we have already known to be corrupt. And this time around, he's exposing them with video footages. He's telling people that he's baiting people, and people, because it's in our DNA, they are taking the bait. Now, Dr. Sabin, number 12. And this is a project that he did on GFA. We know GFA as a mafia group. We haven't seen the video yet. He said the video is coming up June the 6th. But already there has been a huge cry over the video. Not even the judges. And a person in your party, Kennedy Agyapong, is on a crusade to make sure that that man is uncovered. You think Kennedy Agyapong is doing Ghana a favor by uncovering Anas?
Okay, so with that question, I really take a reservation on that because I don't. It's so many, rumors floating around, So until we get the full details, I really don't want to, quickly make a comment on that. There is an issue that, the tape was not fully played, that he adapted the tape. There is a saying that, okay, he's been taking money from other people so that, he comes to you and say, hey, I have a tape on you. If you give me this, I'm not going to show your video. And then if they pay him, he wouldn't show. Are these true? I don't know. So to make a comment on that, I need to get the full details, the full facts, so that I can consciously comment on that, because I don't have the full details. If you look at what he is doing, yes, that is correct. But if you hear other things that is coming out, it's counter, this is, so I'm not going to really comment on this until I get the full facts in front of me, or I know, then I can make a conscious.
But Doc, we know the facts. The fact is that he did just like he's done his projects. We can talk about the methodologies. But he had done his project. And basically, he said in the project, there's somebody who is alleged to be taking the bait that he did. In the process, the another fact is that Kennedy Agyapong is alleging that somebody is actually extorting money, which is crime. And so that is a fact. If Kennedy Agyapong has the fact like you want to see, What is the best thing that has to happen?
Okay, so just like I was saying, they are not facts. This is what Anas gave us. Yes, of course, we know that GFA is corrupt. Everybody knows that. It's not something that is secret. But the fact that if it's true, okay, there have been sources saying that CNN paid him to do that. Britain paid him to do that because BBC, because they won the World Cup that Morocco is bidding to go to Britain. So all these are in play. Then we need to be very cautious and look at everything before we make a decision, rather than just coming out and say, hey, this is bad, this is wrong, and this is that. So I need to know the facts, which it hasn't all come out yet. If those facts are out, and we know that, yes, it is true. It is true that he took money from BBC just, to sway the vote from Morocco getting the World Cup to Britain, then I have an issue, reservation on that.
Mr. Nyati, let me come to you. So this is a project, right? And like Dr. Sabin just said, it is true we have known the Ghana Football Association as corrupt. What we haven't had in the past years or the many years is real evidence of the fact, the act. Now we have a journalist who have gone to the extreme to finalize the evidence. Does it even matter the other issues that if BBC is paying him to sway the World Cup from Morocco bidding to Britain? Does it matter that to we as Africans, or what matters to us must be today as we speak? Now we have evidence that we have always wanted on the GFA, and that is where, as a country, we must run from. We must run with. Does it matter how he fetched it or how we have it?
Yeah, I think these issues of governance and public information, I think it does. Maybe it's a good idea that you are sure about what you're doing, what you're saying, and how you're moving about any idea. So imagine if you actually came out and made condemned or even praised the person, and then turned out to be that maybe what you're saying, whatever you said was not correct, was not based on information or based on fact, So you find you end up like causing more confusion, as it were, I think. You end up creating more problems. So people in public domain, I think, need to actually first have enough information on them. But I know where you're trying to go to, that maybe we procrastinate sometimes. We want to wait too long before things can happen. But maybe that's the price we pay for delivering information, accurate information. I hope the guy.
Yes, it do matters, and I support what he's saying. There is a word called spinning, and spinning means you are talking to the person, and they take pieces and pieces and pieces and add it together, and it becomes a whole thing.
We have a caller, so let's pick the caller real quick.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hello, this is Dr. Foretta.
Hi, Doc.
Thanks for opening the phone line.
You're welcome, Doc.
And I've been with you since the beginning of the show.
Thank you.
And I have just listening to all your contributors, especially the lady and the other two professors. They came to visit me yesterday with Joe, and I'm really, really happy that they have found time to join you. And as usual, we are running late, but please try to bear with him. That is our tradition. But in future, I think we will not be running late again.
Absolutely.
Now, quickly, I would like to jump into the Trump issue. Trump is perhaps a different person. I don't think any civilian political leader anywhere in this world can lead a nation like the way he's doing, and he's getting away with things. Look at what happened to Senator Kerry. The mere fact that people said he was flip-flopping caused him a lot of anxiety and eventual loss of the seat to President Bush or so, yeah. So I think, I don't think anybody can use his style of leadership and be successful. Again, coming back to, and somebody also said the Republicans are afraid of him. Well, you can say so, but not with Senator McCain. Senator McCain has always stood his grounds. You know how he insulted him. The others, he insulted them, but somehow, before forgiving him and quickly ran to embrace him, but McCain is still holding off. Now, quickly to the Anas tape. All of you have been saying we know GFA is corrupt, GFA is corrupt. Yes, and I quite agree with you. You know, if you've been listening to this program, Fire for Fire, and unfortunately, Patrick Osagyimang, Songo, lost his job because of his accusation of the GF. Yes, he is no longer working with the Multimedia Corporation. And so I don't know whether he'll be reinstated, but the fact of the matter is this. In a public space, if you are recorded, it can be tendered into evidence. But here is a case that this case will not be judged by the public. It will be handled by legal officers who are all, quote unquote, in the pocket of mighty GFA President Kwesi Nyantakyi. So let's see, even the other judges, they were all caught on tape receiving bribes. What happened to them? They were merely dismissed without going to jail, without forfeiting their assets. So what is it? Now, my thinking is, even look at what is going on. Some people are accusing the president for coming out first. Some people are saying Anas violated this by showing it to the president, this and that. The battle has already started. And so let us hope that something good will come out of this. Look, without the input from Nyantakyi, see what our Black Stars did in Japan. And I know that in Iceland, they're also going to chalk another victory. So Kwesi Nyantakyi had been somebody who have been using the nation to amass wealth. But we are all afraid to attack him, with the exception of countryman Songo. So let's hope that this incident will open the eyes of the public, the eyes of the government, and the eyes of the legal officers to do the right thing. Ghanaians have been suffering. If you steal kenke, you are likely to go to jail. If you steal somebody's egg, you are likely to go to jail. But if you steal big money, 50 million like Wyoming, you will walk free, because the legal system will see it as booty. Create, loot, and share. And what will happen to you? So please, this is a serious case, and then June 6th, wherever you are, please find time to see what happens. And then for Canada, Japan, no one knows his side. Right now, he's all over the place. And people are thinking, well, what has he got to hide? So please, thank you very much for your contribution.
Thank you so much.
And I'm glad that some people at least care for the interests of Mother Ghana.
Thank you. Thank you for your contribution, Doc. And continue to listen.
Chief of Staff.
Yeah. And we'll get back with you, sir.
Yeah, sure. Thank
you. Dr. Tina, now, Anas has been doing his job for as long as we can, think about it. How come that he only took a project on the GFA, and you find somebody like Kennedy Japan coming down so much on him? What do you think has happened here? Has it confirmed the fact that the GFA, as we've all known, is a mafia, and touching them, it means you've touched fire?
Yes, I believe the issue is becoming interesting. To me, it's becoming like a check and balance system. First of all Ghanaians, or most Ghanaians, agree that we need more of analysis in Ghana, so that the corruption that has become a social canker that is destroying our society can be checked. And here we are having a government official or a lawmaker coming strongly against him and trying all his best to bring out evidence or counter evidence to show that the guy who is trying to reveal corrupt officials is also corrupt. So there's a check and balance right there. Let's see what evidence Kennedy Agyapong has against Anas, because we can't straight away dispute the fact that Anas could also be corrupt. If all the allegations by Kennedy Agyapong against him is true, or half of it is true, then we have a problem. Because it's like, there's a saying that thief man, thief man. That's what is going on. If indeed he's doing that, then that's a problem. But we cannot undermine the work that he's doing. GFA, Jubilee House, Parliament House, Market, Women, etc., should all be checked. And if I have anything to say, I'll say that, if I have any influence, I'll say that the journalism unit in Ghana need to develop or bring up more analysis to do this type of work. Because once the veil is removed, okay, and we're able to enforce the law, jail people, apply the appropriate sanctions, then at least that will put some fear in people who have access to our resources, people who have been placed in positions of power. If we know that once the Anas effect sets in on you, you have to face XYZ sanction, then that can help to curb the corruption issue or problem in Ghana, if not Africa.
Joe, now you and I, let's talk about the evidence so far that Kennedy Agyapong is placing. So first of all, Kennedy Agyapong is talking about Anas invading taxes, that he has properties, he has businesses that he's not paying taxes on, that he imports things from Dubai and don't pay taxes when he gets to the airport, if he gives it to his wife. Kennedy Agyapong is also talking about actually casting innuendos that J.B. Dankwa, may his soul rest in peace, wife had something to do with Anas, and that therefore it looks more like Anas might have committed that crime. Now these are strong charges. These are the evidence that Kennedy Agyapong says he has.
He needs to bring it out.
Now,
what do you say it and confuse people?
Fact,
if you have it, bring it out.
He has just released another video.
He has?
A couple of minutes ago, where the video is showing how Anas took $100,000 from a woman and decided not to show that portion off. I don't know whether that video is genuine or not, but I see that Anas walking to meet someone. My point is that we have to be principled. Okay, and that's it. I don't see why.
Now, do we know that the video that was done Anas? Do we know who the Anas is?
That's the point. I don't see why you fight Kennedy Agyapong whilst you are praising Anas. It's the same thing Anas. Kennedy is now doing the same thing just Anas is doing.
but we some of us, I know Anas for a fact. I know him.
Yeah, but the point is what Kennedy is doing now is the same thing that, just like Anas is doing. What we need to do now is to scrutinize Kennedy's evidences. Is it true or not? If it is true, then Anas is also just as corrupt as the people he has been catching every day.
So let's talk about first evidence. Kennedy. The first evidence is that Anas is evading taxes and that his business does not pay taxes. So is this hard to find this?
It is not. So that is
GRA.
Exactly. So Kennedy must bring all the evidences and take them to the appropriate.
And for example, this morning, Kweku Baku brought all the taxes that Anas company had filed, and the taxes is paid. and he said, "These are the facts and these are the evidence." Is that not enough to say something to Kennedy Japan right now, or you think we still need
Kennedy
better?
cannot get it all. Kennedy cannot get it all right. So for me, I don't see why we should waste our time to even argue about Kennedy, because okay, Kennedy is saying Anas is dating somebody's wife, ex-wife, and so
he said that Anas had his degree, a law degree by merit. I mean by
so Kennedy can go and investigate and come and say, hey, you are dating somebody's wife. I'm also having a eagle eye, and my eagle eye investigation is showing that you have a hand in killing JB Dankwa, or you acquired your law degree fraudulently. I mean, you don't have to be going on radio and jumping from one FM station to another. Bring the evidences, and he's having the right to do that. So I don't see why we must fight Kennedy. If it's true, like the video he just released, if it is true that Anas took $100,000 and let some woman, and in fact we all have been hearing this, we all know that Anas ran a documentary on Parliament, and as of today, that was somewhere in 2009 or so, he has still not released that video. So why?
I thought that matter was put to rest when Anas himself said he hasn't done anything like that. So whoever has the evidence must produce it. He has not done video on parliamentarians.
Well, I'm not privy to that information. But
yeah, he said it on Joy FM. He said he's not done it. He has never done a documentary or project on parliamentarians.
Personally, I am of the view that you cannot record or video someone without the person consent. I disapprove that method. But looking at the gargantuan nature of corruption in Ghana, I have no regret if someone is caught. I don't see why a judge must accept a female as a gift in order to rule biasly, or you must accept goods. You see, you must go to the SEPS one. If you look at the abortion one, how medical doctors have been having sex with their victims before abortion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you have not seen it, Dr. Sabin?
They need to go to jail.
I mean, yeah, because...
But that is why he was trying to put Kwesi Identity in jail, but this one is too big. So every video, every project, there's a cause and effect, right? We know, Dr. Sabin, I'm going to come to you because I guess what I'm trying to get here is that in the society that we live in, we have all concluded to say there's gargantuan crime. And it's only in our interest for everybody to be even an us, so that we will bring some of these corruptions down. And so if we find one person, regardless of his sins, I think that all of us should be interested in making sure that he's protected. But when I hear the noise, let me even not say, but the threat, and I watch Kennedy Japan in his Net2 TV, where he's virtually telling people that when you meet Anas, beat him. If it's another country, he's dead. He will die. These are serious threats that none of us should encourage. Yeah. Not only on any person, but Anas. And that is where I think that the challenge that I'm trying to get here is that don't you see that without the evidence that you're talking about, you want the evidence and then you make your judgment. There is something that Kennedy Japan has crossed. That party members like you must be able to stand and rebuke him without necessarily first say, I need evidence. Because
but that is for Anas. Anas can seek witness at court.
No, but then I'm saying that we just spoke about Trump, whose party cannot say anything. And so the party is run like Trump. Some people sitting back could also see Kennedy Japan's campaign as MPP.
But you have the same MPP guys also supporting
Anas.
So why? I mean, I think that is I will support any cause by any individual, whether Kennedy Japan or even Anel Kufuor himself trying to uncover corruption in Ghana. Because for me,
but that's not what we have now. We're finding somebody who is trying to uncover the one that is trying to uncover corruption.
yeah, because that person too is perceived to be corrupt, according to that person, and for me, it's a legitimate.
Dr. Sabi.
Yeah, I do not endorse threats on anybody, any human being. So no one should ever threat any other, his fellow human being. I don't support that. I don't believe anybody who does that is correct. Talking about what you were saying, one, I don't. The Anas dating, what's his name? His ex-wife or wife. The widow has nothing to do with corruption. Dating, it has nothing to do with corruption.
But it has something to do
no,
with
he said
the death,
the
murder of
the murder.
There you go.
No, he said the death. This is dangerous.
This is what I'm saying. Dating has nothing to do with that. What you need to do, that if you think that Charles or Joe is involved with the death of this person, bring that evidence. Let's look at the evidence or take it to the police station. Let's address that. But dating has nothing. Doesn't make sense. It's two separate things. If you believe that I killed a person, bring that out. But if you say I was dating.
But Joe said that some of the judges were giving women or girls as bribe.
No, that is a different concept. That's a different bribery case. My thing is that in order for us to, they were spinning, and I'm saying they're spinning again. And spinning means we will talk about something, you just take half of it. I'm talking to you and I say, you know what? Yes, I saw John, and John was, in the bathhouse, taking a shower, so he was undressed. And then you take the undressed. And you spin that. But you see what I'm saying? It's two different things.
Dr. Sapon, and I've heard some of these debates. And I think that it's important to put it in perspective that Anas does not do a project without a suspicion. So 30 million people. The reason why Anas has not come to you to do a documentary on you is because there's no suspicion. And so his project is based on information that he picks up. And I'm saying, for example, in this GFA matter, we have known over the years that there is a cartel, a mafia in the GFA. I myself, I have said, I am a victim of that cartel. They've taken my money. Hold on.
Where in Ghana?
Hold on.
Institution in Ghana don't you have cartel in?
No. What I'm saying is that to make the case as if he picks his targets and doctors evidence to support it. I think that is misrepresentation. Misrepresentation. What I'm saying is that every document that he's done was necessitated by something, some interest. And so how he puts those pieces together, to me, is secondary.
Yeah, but the point is, why even argue or debate about Anas video and stuff? Why even? Because, like I said, Anas is entitled to do that, so to unmask corruption.
Absolutely.
And if I believe in the same thing like Kennedy, just Kennedy can also do same.
But we have a point here where Kennedy.
But it seems you guys are attacking Kennedy for trying to go after Anas.
But that is
which I don't
okay.
get it.
So we're not. What I'm saying is that Kennedy has the right to do the same thing on masking, and that is why we put some of this evidence that he says he has, so that we can completely say, yes, he has something, or say that Kennedy, you do not have anything. Therefore, excuse my language, shut up. Kennedy says this guy might have committed a crime, a murder of J.B. Dankwa. Kennedy says this guy imports things to the country without paying taxes. These are serious things. We must immediately say this is right. It is not about somebody attacking Kennedy to say don't even have the right to speak, Dr.
But
Mr. Nyati.
you see, I think the fora in which these things are addressed, maybe that's where the problem is. I mean, if you have a problem of something that needs to go to court, I think present it at the court. But I do also agree with you that when you say that somebody is bringing out information, I think this is a position like you have privileged by like a parent, for instance, a teacher or a leader, where you get information about something. I consider that to be free, and if it's good, you take it and analyze it. If it's good, it can help you, you use it, you know. But in some situations, you find that, you know, that information is important for you to function as a person, you know. So in this situation that we're talking about, you know, there are cases that should go to court. If you have some issues that you need to present before court, I think if you're a good citizen,
a lawmaker.
Unfortunately, we're having this discussion because we have come to appreciate the power and effect of social media. And before we go to court, people might have died before or condemned. And I think that is where we are right now. And we must, as a people, agree that the social media that Kennedy is using is okay. So that we condemn the guy that is doing our job, or say, it's okay. Kennedy, let it go. The guy is presenting evidence, and every evidence that, or every project he's picked, the courts have taken it up. Every project. Every project that his people are in court right now, the judges are in court right now fighting their case.
So let's
The
wait.
cocoa-
Let's wait so that the court will pick up, which I hope
But
the
Kennedy's
court will
not
pick
waiting.
up. Okay, so let's and then Kennedy should send his to court too.
Exactly.
So let's look at both of them. So let's wait and see what is going to happen in the, you know, as time goes on, as he takes his to court and Kennedy takes his to court, and then we will see what is good. The court is going to
fight
decide. on.
Kennedy, I disagree. If Anas is having any issue, Anas can take Kennedy to court for defamation of character. That's there. But for people to fight Kennedy, I disagree, because it's based on principle, and the principle is that just as you are doing to someone, somebody can do the same to you. and that's what I believe it should happen.
Doc, we're going to end this one because I know I gave you 12:30, but as a country, and I like when you said that almost all of us must be Anasis. All of us. Do you think that we are on the right path to winning this fight? This fight of, as a continent, let me even say as a continent, are we on the right path? Are we seeing things that gives us hope that corrupt practices is reducing? Or are we seeing things that is discouraging us, making us believe that this fight is going to be a long battle? What do you think?
I like the the latter part of your statement. It's going to be a long battle. With what Anas is doing, let's ask ourselves, how is the communication about the sanctions being projected or given to the people? When Anas found out about the customs issue and the late president was, furious about it, he talked about it, what happened to those corrupt officials? The government or whoever is in charge of communication did not go back to the community or the society to communicate to them that this is what happened to them. So perhaps that's part of the reason why Anas is being profiled, let me say, targeted, or, the whole thing is about Anas doing that job, and we don't know what happens to them. So some people are even of the view that when high-profile people are targeted by Anas and unveiled, nothing happens to them. And we need to answer that question to society. For example, the judges. Maybe you and I know that they are in court. But what about the average person in society? Are we communicating well to them so that they will know that justice is for all, nobody is above the law? And there's hope that corruption will eventually become a thing of the past or become history eventually. So I stand by the point that we have to have more analysis to do that job. I don't know how the government or the journalism center unit in Ghana would do that or train people to do that, but we need more of such work because it educates us about who is corrupt in Ghana, who is not corrupt, and how they are being sanctioned. Yeah. And as Joe said, if indeed, or let me echo my own words, if indeed Anas is also corrupt, then that's sad. That's a shame. Yeah. So Kennedy has the right as a citizen, as a lawmaker, as a person to counter what Anas is doing, but he shouldn't add the threats. Exactly. And permit me to use the word, the conniving and the acrimony and all those things, the name calling. If you feel strongly that Anas is also corrupt as his victims, because he's calling them victims, then bring the evidence. That's all everybody is looking at. Bring the evidence. Let's see what he has done that you call corrupt, and let's shame him also. But don't threaten him, don't discourage him, don't try to stop him from doing the work that he's doing. After all, we need that. And most importantly, we need to communicate to Ghanaians and to our citizens what happened, what kind of sanctions were laid on these people, or were given to, what kind of punishments were given to these people who were deemed corrupt. Because I haven't heard about that part. We always hear about Anas unveiling this group of people, that group of people, XYZ, cartel, etc., and that ends the story. I think we need to go beyond just unveiling them and, exposing what happened to them in terms of punishment so that will serve as a deterrent for society members.
Absolutely. So that would serve as a deterrent for other people. And I want to quote this one, Romans 3:23-26. It says, "For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God, being justified freely by his grace through the redemption that is in Christ Jesus, whom God set forth as a propitiation by his blood through faith to demonstrate his righteousness, because in his forbearance God had passed all over the sins that were previously committed, to demonstrate at the present time his righteousness, that he might be just and justify of the one who has faith in Jesus." Our time is spent. I am so glad that I have this wonderful gentleman and a lady in my studio this morning. They have to catch up another flight to somewhere else. Mr. Joe is driving them around, and I think that I have to let them go. I wish I could be here the whole 2 hours, but we can't do that. And I want to thank you so much, Dr. Sabin Charles. Let me make sure. Dr. Charles Dakwat Sabin, the Vice Chairman, Baltimore Chapter, and the member of the NIC USA. Thank you so much for being here on Afro Voice. And to you, you're my friend now, Dr. Tina Abrifa Jan, the first Vice Chairperson for NPP USA. She just recently won her chairmanship, but we know that she's bringing in what are you bringing in?
A lot. Information dissemination.
A lot of good stuff.
Absolutely. And we have here also my own in-law, Mr. Boniface Nyati from Zambia. And he also contributed to the show. And of course, I have my right-hand man, Joseph Owusu, in the studio. And he is driving our guests in town around. So Joseph is going to take a leave of us, and I will be here till 2. So just stay tuned, listen to the music. Let me see them off, and I'll be right back. This is Afro Voice Radio, and my name is EAZU. That is E-Azu. Just stay tuned.
The identification haircut, detection of journalists. You did all these things in camera or without camera, whatever.
Your Honor, I put it to you. Kwesi Baine, Kofi Kumsin, Harunata, and Kwekuba Kujini were all stubborn critics.
Shut up! What are you trying to do? Confuse the court? If you interrupt me again, I will sentence you to another 2 years imprisonment for contempt of court. I also give you 1,000 years for devaluing the city to make it easier for your government to operate and difficult for the people to think. Your friend, Quality Grain, and sister-in-law will share some of your sentences. I also sentenced you to another 1,000 years for selfishness. The ESB wasn't good for the people, but it was good for you and your friends.
But Your Honor, that's why we have the ruled and the ruling classes.
Nonsense. Boropaku, did you take public office to raise the poverty in your family? What do you mean? A part of my jury, which is made up of the ghost of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and Dr. J.B. Dankwa, they have asked me to give you another 1,000 years for wasting about half of our independence years experimenting with the people. You also have to write a letter to explain what happened at GNPC and what you mean by integrity and accountability. Who were favoritism and nepotism to you after you have killed others for defending them? What happened to our sports?
That we were impressive. We hired and fired many foreign coaches. We attended several competitions, sometimes with more officials than athletes, bus stopwatches, scoreboards, and renovated and painted the Accra and Kumasi sports area in the national colors. Clearly, Your Honor, you can see we laid the foundation before the NPP took over.
Nonsense. After 20 years, I give you another 2,000 years. I also sentence you to another 1,000 years for deceiving the people. You have 5 children, yet you were telling the people about contraceptives because you could take care of yours but made it difficult for the people to take care of theirs. I also charge you for involving yourself in a senseless gun battle at Dansoma. You are also to go and learn the difference between an NGO and a women's wing of a political party before you start your dress sentences. Kolebu was a graveyard. Graveyards are peaceful. Now it is a slave dungeon, dying people lying on bed floors in mosquito-infested rooms.
Your Honor, cash and carry was to recover costs, ensure efficient health service delivery, and make life more meaningful.
Are you Kressa or what? I heard your earlier campaigns. Oh, we will bridge the gap between the poor and the rich. 20 years later, the rich are still getting richer and the poor are dying.
Your Honor, I would like to explain what I meant by that.
Shut up! This is a positive change court, and I am not allowing any politicking here. You are also charged for taking too much money in taxes from the poor people because of poor management. The continuous borrowing from IMF and World Bank in the name of the people, the money that the people never spent. Now I want to ask you a question. Who threw the shit bomb?
Your Honor.
Answer me, who threw the shit bomb?
Your Honor, that's unfair.
You are to reach the whole of Accra Sports Stadium for that. You are also supposed to save 2,000 years if you don't tell me who owns the new jet, receipts covering it, and what we are supposed to pay.
Your Honor, have you forgotten the Council of State declared their own jet a flying coffin? Besides, the President enjoyed flying. It was to prevent loss of VIP lives.
Are you Kressa? I said, what is the price? Who owns it? Remove the words in your ears, otherwise you content yourself. You have been accused of misbehavior. While students were on strike, people not being able to afford half square meal a day, inadequate security for our women, massive migration from rural areas to urban areas, unemployment, redeployment, underdevelopment, high cost of living. You were driving in big cars in air conditions, shouting, yeah. Travesty of justice, as you claim, is no excuse. Your boom can't scare anybody. Yes, your boom, it can't scare anybody. You deceived yourself with deceiving of bodies. You are also charged for insulting people in public. Domela, Jimakla, and Co. Listen, did you remove the speck in your eye before doing that? I give you 2,000 years too for that.
Welcome back, listeners. Our live coverage of the sitting of the special court continues. The atmosphere of the court is tense. Justice Kokonsa doesn't seem to know anything like mercy and appears to be going for the maximum sentence in the case. The prosecution team looks cheerful and upbeat, while the demeanor on the side of the defense attorney appears quite unsettled. We now take you back to the courtroom.
Order! You remember the divestitures? Divestiture here, divestiture there, divestiture everywhere didn't bring us anything. What about the ghost names? Joe, my brother, you remember the energy crisis, poor planning, Do you know that the International Conference Center, the new one is leaking? You did all these things. What worries me is that you did it after complaining of furnishing your living room with helicopter seats. Are you guilty or not guilty? I said, are you guilty or not guilty? You should have been hanged. Yes, I should have hanged you. But for your political stability that we enjoyed, improved road network, rural electrification projects, your return to multi-party democracy, your refurbishing of the Kolebu Mortuary, and your 4 doctorate degrees, I'll be lenient with you. I give you 5,000 years, 450 months, 100 weeks, and 50 days imprisonment with hard labor. However, you'll be allowed to contest in the 2004 election. So, Mr. Edison, you see that this court is full of probity, accountability, transparency, and integrity. Democracy at its base. Freedom of speech. I just Mr. Ubizo for civic for CHK for concern the grandson of government for taking the voter reason. My court is on recess. We'll be back with the next accused ever.
Ladies and gentlemen, you just heard things for us. Justice Kokonsa just winding up proceedings on the first sitting of his practical capacity court. He's giving the impression today that he will continue to carry out his adjudications without fear of favor. Only time will tell. Until the next accused is brought before Justice Kokonsa's court, I'd like to say thank you for choosing this dive. You just accept the beautiful experience.
All right, welcome back, and we've got less than 10 minutes to leave here, and I still have him in the studio, Mr. Boniface Nyati, and we'll make justice to the 10 minutes, and hopefully we can have some conversation here. Mr. Nyati, I'm reading some news in Zambia. And it's basically saying Zambia debt growing too large to cover up, and we have talked about how African countries and in general their debt portfolio and how they make decisions that affect the children unborn. They leave debt. And in many cases, this is the reason why the Western world always have us, because they have to forgive us our debt, and in so doing, we end up being subject to them. Now, I know you've been away for a while, but this news, does it surprise you?
No, it doesn't surprise, because we saw it coming. You know, like 5 years ago, or more than 5 years ago, like 7 years ago, the government in power, when it came into power, they went on borrowing. They justified their positions for borrowing. They went for bonds for Euro bonds and things like that. People were talking about people being careful, mindful about how you borrow. You don't just borrow because you want to have money in the system. You know, they said, no, we're building roads, we're doing all these other things. But I think the problem is that I think we have to match our borrowing all the time and know where the money is going. I think we don't borrow for consumption. I think basically most of our African countries, they would like to borrow money, and then for some reason, part of the money is diverted into maybe just consumption. I think once you have the money, like, okay, it's nice to build roads, for instance, but I would go for a situation where the country can be in a position to to be able to look after the roads by itself, not so much help from outside, because it becomes like a consumption program. You know, roads break down all the time. And then are you going to continue borrowing money to fix roads, for instance? I think we need to have a plan of borrowing so that whatever money is taken is directed towards development, real development, something that will generate money. So this thing is always foreseen. As long as maybe this borrowed money is taken for the purpose of doing a very good project for a short time, in the short run, but if the money is not used for the intended purpose, then we need to we run into growing the deficit or the debt burden.
I have, and this is most of the challenge, or much of the challenge from a lot of the African countries we talk about, where we borrow basically for consumption.
Yeah.
Sometimes we borrow to even pay public workers.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so do you think that our production does not support some of these things that we borrow to develop? So basically, we have borrowed to build a road, but we have not put the road in good use to have a returns.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And so everywhere we're borrowing, for example, we borrow to pay nurses. The nurses might have worked to repay this money that was borrowed for them. And so if we are not having this exchange of services, are we saying that we are failing as a people, or the mere fact that we are borrowing is even wrong from the first place?
Yes. I think we have to run these things like a business. We have to know what we are borrowing for. We cannot just go get some money and do it.
So let's say we borrow, let's take, for example, we borrow for building road infrastructure.
Yeah, if it's a priority.
How do we get returns?
Yeah, because if we borrow for roads, we'll have maybe prioritized, we'll have analyzed before borrowing that if we open up this road and work on this road, it's going to bring in some economic benefit. Okay? But
Good point.
Yeah, but if we don't analyze, if we just do it just to please people, for instance, I've seen this happen even in my country, where you find certain roads are opened up and maybe there isn't the economic value. There is no economic benefit from that expenditure.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, sometimes you want to put up a macadamized road, a tarred road, in a place which is rarely used by people, you know, but because there are constituent members there, they want a tarred road, you know. But that does not economically justify that kind of expenditure. So we need, whatever we do, we must know that at the end of the day, we must be able to be in a better position than where we are at when we start the expenditure. But if it's not going to change, if we are going, after spending so much money, then 5 years or 3 years after, we still borrow money to do the same thing, then I think we're not doing a good job. Whatever we do, it must be analyzed, understood, and know that it's going to bring some return on investment.
Is borrowing good?
Borrowing good, it's good if you know what you're doing. If you know that if I borrow this money, I'm going to generate this amount of money, which is going to help me to be able to move up to that level, you know. But if you don't know that, if you don't have a plan, for instance, you don't understand what you're doing, then borrowing is not good. You must only borrow when you know where you're going.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think you made a very strong case here, where most of our leaders, especially Africans, they say they borrow to build roads.
Yeah.
And like you said, some of these roads economically it's not even viable.
The problem is, it's good to say you borrow for roads,
but you must make sure that
that road is going to help you.
Correct.
To accumulate more money.
Correct. Yeah. And until you have paid for that which you borrowed, there's no need to borrow more to build other places that is not really gonna, germinate. Interest for you as a people. And I think that's where we are as a country, as a continent. It's not only peculiar to Zambia, but I know that in Ghana, we have challenges like that. The interesting thing is that why our leaders continue to do the same thing and get the same results is what is amazing.
And I think the political component, they just playing to the gallery, trying to please electorates. I think if that part could
go...
So
to the African mind, to the African politician, all that is they are interested is to win votes.
If you take away that, I know, the programs, for instance, that's why we do have lack of continuity in our programs, because this new party comes in, it starts its own programs, or it doesn't quite continue with the existing programs. So if we have got interest of development, we have to go by what is planned. We have to ensure that whatever we start will bring back something for the country. It will improve the state of the country. It's not good just saying roads. Roads are good. We understand generally. We understand that maybe a road infrastructure is important, but it must be important specifically for a specific place and for a specific objective. If there is an area where there are a lot of tourists going, if you put up a good road, then you might generate more money, because there are more tourists who go to that place and generate you some revenue.
I think that we have we have 4 minutes to go, but I think we'll end this the discussion here, and I want to thank everybody that listened to this show, especially our guests that were here, Dr. Tina Brifa Jan, and then Dr. Chas Dakwa Sabin, and of course my right hand man Joe Ose Owusu. I also have in the studio Mr. Boniface Nyati from Zambia. We also had Dr. Ofori Atta, who called all the way from Columbus. We know Gobi listened. We thank you so much for all the technical support you gave us. One director, Nicholas Afezi, you're also listening. Thank you so much. Thank you, Afro Voice fan club, for also giving me all the heads up on how loud my voice was and how distorting the radio was. And to you listening in London right now, Gwen, thank you so much. Also, we're monitoring and make sure that we had this program covered nicely. Until same time next week. And we have said this is Afro Voice Radio, and the program is Hot Topics Reboot. We are rebooting Hot Topics, so stay tuned with us. We'll be here at the same time next week from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Today, because we're going to have some visitors, we extended the time so we can occupy them within the time that they will be here. So bear with us, but the right time is from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. This is Afro Voice. I have been your presenter. My name is E. Azu. I will be here, and I want to thank you all. And when you go to church tomorrow, pray for us. Pray for all of us here in Cincinnati, that the God himself and God that guides the diasporans would be with all of us. Thank you for listening, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye-bye.
The trial of some political parties is coming off at the Independence Square in Accra today. There is an unprecedented public interest in the trial, and already a sea of people have gathered to witness the first sitting of the special court. It is presided over by Justice H.K.A. Kokonsa. We now cross over to the Independence Square to give you live coverage as events unfold at the court. Please stay tuned in.
Now my court is in session. Would you please stand?